I want to meet you in the 14th chapter of the book of Luke. Let's go to the Gospels this evening and let's focus with Jesus on a story that Jesus tells. I want to set the stage for this by, I don't always put titles. I always put a title on our message when we post it because they're easy to find. You don't just put up your name and the date. It's easier to give people a title of a sermon. So as I edit them and go back through them, usually a title falls out. But this one I would borrow a phrase that I read by a great, what I think was a great Christian scholar, Robert Farrar Capon. He wrote that God had a monomaniacal commitment to grace. That's a phrase I thought was pretty deep. But what I would title this is the crazy initiative of grace. And I want to try to preach towards that idea tonight, all right? Walk you up to that idea that that God has an initiative that is grace, that He is going to pull off no matter what we do about it, no matter how much we get in the way, no matter how badly it bothers us. God is going to function through grace. He is not going to decide to do it another way. And honestly, it's the last way we would choose is the way of grace. And that's why I agree with his phrase. It is a crazy initiative. It is crazy to try to force grace on people in a world obsessed with meritocracy. We build almost all of our structures out of only the strong survive. Do better and you'll make more. Work harder and you'll climb higher. And I'm not here to bemoan that structure, although that structure has its own built-in problems, and we know it. It tends to crush people that don't climb well. It tends to leave people behind that don't move fast enough. It tends to tilt away from you if you're not quick on your feet or clever with a dollar or able to get more done on shorter amounts of sleep, or maybe just a little bit smarter. That system really doesn't have a lot of room for you. Now, again, neither here nor there on what we do with those systems. They work, we like them. We especially like them when they matter to us. Like we're all about equitable systems when it comes to kids playing soccer. Everybody plays, they get a cupcake. Meritocracy doesn't matter. You don't have to score to get a cupcake. You showed up at the game, you get a cupcake. Equal for all. It's a good way to live. We don't want a heart surgeon that was chosen in an equitable system. We want a heart surgeon that was chosen in a meritocracy. Because we don't want one that was chosen because they were the right height, they went to the right school, they're the right gender, they're the right skin color. We want the one that's the best. And it's okay for everybody else to have the equitable system, but when it comes time for me, I'm going to go find the guy that's better than the other guy, right? So those systems have their value, is my point, in the way that we use them. Yes, they tilt sometimes towards, especially at the top, towards tyranny, and that must always be kept in check. It's also why I went through that whole spiel, because I want to show you how opposite grace is, because grace is the free favor of God, where God doesn't put a bill of sale in front of you and say, you owe me because I died on the cross for you and you're coming up short this week and I'm not going to bless you and I'm not going to anoint you and I'm not going to forgive you and I'm not going to favor you. We are not in a spiritual meritocracy where only the strong get to go to heaven, only the truly moral or good get to spend time with Jesus someday. Aren't you glad that meritocracy doesn't exist in glory? Instead, that God's grace, which is crazy considering that it works so well the other way to promote the best of the best, and then you have the way of grace, which promotes sometimes the worst of the worst. And why would God double down on this system of government? And He did. It was at the cross. Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. God doubles down on grace and says, grace is going to be the way we're going to go. I'm going to forgive you. I actually love this next statement, but I want to pause before I say it because I want you to prepare yourself, because sometimes it goes down sideways. God says, I'm going to forgive you whether you like it or not. Amen. That's God doubling down on grace and going, I'm going to do it my way. You're going to disagree at times because of who gets in and who gets what and who qualifies. But I'm going to do it anyway because this is my party. I set the rules and I'm going to stick with it. And I'm not going to compromise that because it's easier or it makes more sense to.